Hey guys, welcome to a video that I'm really excited to film. Today I'm going to be sharing 35 classics that I want to read before I die. So let's just give a few little disclaimers here. When I'm talking about 35 classics I want to read, this is not necessarily the best of the best. There are some classics that I've read that obviously aren't going to be on this list. Maybe eventually when I've read more classics, like I've been talking lately that I've really been enjoying them, but prior to like 3 months ago even, I didn't enjoy a ton of classics, so a lot of the ones I read I gave like 3 stars or lower, but I really want to like some of these. You guys have been giving me some great inspiration for classics, and I'm actually thinking what I would like to do is kind of make this a list of 50 classics that I want to read before I die, but what I thought I would do is share the 35, and then I would love for you guys to leave comments below sharing some classics that you think I would like based off of these that I can add to the list, and maybe I can find 15 more to add to the list. I am going to be making this list of books into a printable PDF. So if you sign up for my newsletter, it's in the description. The next time I send out a newsletter, I will be sending out that printable PDF. So sign up so you can grab that and you guys can follow along and read some of these books with me and check them off. Okay, other disclaimers. I own some of these I don't. You will notice, because I was looking at like lists online of books that people think are great classics, there is no Margaret Atwood on this list. I think as a Canadian that is not something I'm really even allowed to say, but I had to read enough Margaret Atwood in my university career to like just carry over for the rest of my life. I will never pick up another one of her books. I don't care what people say. I'm never picking up another one of her books. And also there is no Agatha Christie. I have lots of Agatha Christie I want to read. That's just a given. Otherwise this list could have just been all Agatha Christie books. Other than that, how I defined a classic is pretty much like if the author is dead, it's a classic. I don't remember. I think one of these was written in the 1960s. Other than that, I think there's a couple from the 1950s, and most of them are closer to like 100, written 100 plus years ago. So I'm just kind of taking the term classic and running with it. When I was looking up lists to see what I wanted to add to this, some people were adding classics to the list that were written like in the early 2000s, and I'm like, that's not a classic yet. That's barely had any time. Yeah, so let's just get started. I decided to start with one book that is a reread. I just talked about this in my last video. Obviously there are some classics that I have liked that I want to reread, but this one needed to go on the list. So I'm starting things out here with Pride and Prejudice. Like I said in my last video, I'm just going to keep reading and rereading this book until I like it. You guys left a few ideas or reasons why some of you like it. Some of you also want to really love it because of Kathleen Kelly, just like I do. So maybe one of these days we will love it. I think since I've been reading more classics in the last while, this might be a better time to read it than when I had previously. I feel like this book has more of a chance of being loved by me now than it did the last time that I read it. So first book on the list. I'm not going to talk too much about all these books. And I'm not going to give synopsis because I feel like they're kind of fairly well known, and some of them I really don't know much about. So we're just going to stick on the Jane Austen train here for a bit because I don't really like Jane Austen, and I feel like I need to remedy that. I kind of want to like her. So my next one is Persuasion. My nice bind up here. I want to read Persuasion. I put Sense and Sensibility. So those are my 3 on this list. I probably wanted to read all of hers, but those are 3 that I want to get checked off before I die. So those are the first 3. Next up is another favorite classic author of mine, and that is Shirley Jackson. And the book I picked is The Bird's Nest. Honestly, I've never heard of any of her books other than the ones that I have read / am reading, other than her nonfiction. I've never heard of any of her other fiction books, but I was looking at a list of like the best ones, and this was the next one after the ones I've read. So I'm just planning on buying and reading all of Shirley Jackson books, but this one will be my next pick. Then in spots 4 and 5, where am I here? 5 and 6, we've got another favorite author of mine, and that is L.M. Montgomery. I chose not to put any of the Anne or Emily books on here because those are also just a given. I'm going to read those. But I got Jane of Lantern Hill. I believe this is a standalone. I love L.M. Montgomery's writing and atmosphere. So I want to read this. And then I own Mistress Pat, and I put this on the list, but I actually think that this is part of a duology, but from what I heard, Tundra never made these beautiful additions in the other book. So I think it's like Pat of Silver Bush is the other one. So whichever one is first, that one is going to be on my list here. But I have Mistress Pat. So either this one or Pat of Silver Bush will be on my list. Next up here, some Bronte sisters. So I want to read Agnes Grey. I don't think I've read any Anne Bronte yet. So I want to read this one, and then I think she also wrote The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. That's another one I want to get to. And then Charlotte Bronte, I want to read her Shirley. This was on a recent TBR of mine and I didn't get to it. So hopefully eventually here in the next however many years it is before I die, I'll get to that one. Another recent favorite author of mine is Elizabeth Gaskell. So Mary Barton is on my list. I have this picked out for my November TBR. I'm hoping I can get to it, or at least start it in November. And then in addition, Wives and Daughters is a really popular one of her books that I want to read, as well as Cranford. So these are 10, 11, and 12 on my list. And then is a book I have started 2 times and have yet to finish, but I am determined to read this book, and that is Uncle Tom's Cabin. I don't know why I find this book so hard. I've started it at least twice. Need to actually finish this one. A recent one that I picked up and shared in a book haul is The Turn of the Screw. I am really curious about this one because, what's her name? Ruth Ware, her book Turn of the Key, I think was loosely based off of this, and it's a supposed to be an uneasy and sinister novella. Shows a woman haunted by an eerie and evil presence that emerges from the terrors of real life. And it's so short, and that's pretty exciting. So I'm really curious about that one. Coming in at number 15 is Jude the Obscure. I don't know anything about Thomas Hardy, but I have a couple of his books that I want to read, so this is one of them. And then an author that I want to read some of is Wilkie Collins. So I currently have The Moonstone. This one's on the list, and so is The Woman in White. I've heard really good things about that. I hear that one's better than this one, so that's on the list. Okay, then we've got some Asimov. We have Foundation. I just bought this one and I've decided I want to give Asimov a try. So we'll start with this one. And then in a bigger, chunkier book here, we've got Dune. This is a science fiction book that my husband actually just finished, and I feel like he was kind of all over the place on his thoughts. He was like not liking it and then liking it and not liking it, so I'm curious to know what I think about this one. One of those big classics that a person kind of is scared to start, Moby Dick. This one, I don't know, it intimidates me for some reason. Okay, and this author, I only have one book from on this list. That is Charles Dickens. I have the Pickwick Papers. I have read / started a number of Dickens books. I have only really liked A Christmas Carol and Oliver Twist, and the other ones I have either suffered through or not finished. So I'm hoping maybe I will like this one. I will keep trying Dickens though. Number 22 here is The Mill on the Floss. I think this is maybe George Eliot's more known book. I read Middlemarch, and that has terrified me from her writings because that one was so boring. So I've been scared of this one as well, but I'm putting it on the list. Another intimidating chunker is Gone with the Wind. I've actually heard quite good things about Gone with the Wind, the book, so we'll see. I remember seeing snippets of the movie on TV when I was younger, and it just, I didn't get it. I mean, that's what happens when you only get, like, watch snippets, but it's kind of scared me off from the book. Number 24 is a very loved book, I think. A lot of you mentioned this in my Classics for Beginners list, and that is a picture of Dorian Gray. I currently have this out from the library and plan on reading it because it is so well known and well loved. Even if you apparently hate the characters, like Tiffany when she was reading it recently, hated all the characters, but you still give the book 5 stars. I don't even know how that's possible. So I need to give that a try. And in the whole Oscar Wilde vein, I also have The Importance of Being Earnest. I want to read that play. So that one is number, where are we at here? 25. Okay, so we've got 10 more left here. Next up, we've got some Daphne du Maurier. I do want to reread Rebecca, but I'm not putting that on this list officially. I have My Cousin Rachel. I feel like this, other than Rebecca, this is her next well-known one, so I want to give this one a try. And then I recently found out that she wrote short stories, and so this is the Doll short stories. Yeah, I want to read this book. I think short stories are brilliant when well done, obviously, but I feel like Daphne du Maurier could do these really well. Number 28 is another du Maurier, and this is The King's General. I have this like really cool, really vintage copy. I don't know anything about it because it came with no dust jacket or anything, but I wonder, this was published in 1947. Yeah, but this one looks really cool. So I got some du Maurier to read. Next up, oh yes, this is, I like a lot of like gothic horror books, I'm realizing. A lot of classic ones. This is very different. This is All Things Bright and Beautiful by James Herriot. I have a few of his books and I think they are probably going to be nice like light spring reads. So I'm just putting this one on the list to see if I like his writing. Okay, and then for the final 6, I don't own any of these books. So my next one is Fahrenheit 451. I honestly don't know anything about it, but I feel like it's one of those books that is like talked about and referenced so much that I need to know what it is. Number 31 is The Count of Monte Cristo. That's another thick chunker that intimidates me. Plus I watched the movie and I really just didn't enjoy it slash get it, like, so that's also scary. 32, Les Mis. I had to put this on here because so many of you read it this last summer and really enjoyed it. And in school, I had to read the like young readers, Jean Valjean. I think it's taken from Les Mis, I think, right? And I just had such a negative experience with that book that I don't even really want to read Les Mis, but I kind of do. So it's on the list. I am going to read it. Then in number 33 here is one that I wanted to get to in October. That is The Outsiders. I really wanted to read that with Becca when she was reading through it, but I didn't get a chance to. So that's going to be one. I think that's the one that was written in 65 or something. So that's my like newest one on the list. And then I've got The Time Machine. I'm curious about this one. I think I might actually like it, but we'll see. And the last one is Virginia Woolf. I'm thinking Mrs. Dalloway, but if one of you has a different suggestion on what to read for Virginia Woolf, let me know. And then share, that was the last one, so share other books that you think should be on this list. I need 15 more. Once I have my 50, then I will make that printable PDF and share that on my with my newsletter subscribers, and you guys can print that out. But I want to add 15 more to this list. One that I was thinking maybe Dodie Smith's I Have Captured the Castle. Is that what it's called? I'm curious about that one, and I don't know what else. If there's some of these authors that have other books that you think I would enjoy, let me know. Let's finish filling out those like last 15 books there. And let me know which one of these you guys think I would like, so I kind of know where to start. Thanks for watching, guys.